Our meeting, council meeting in North Miami is called to order. Today is April 20, no, what am I talking about? Mr. Attorney, what's today's date? Today is April 10th, 2018. We are about to start our regularly scheduled council meeting in North Miami. We'll start with roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor Joseph.
Okay. Here.
Yes, here. Councilman Galvin.
Here.
Councilwoman Keys.
Here.
Councilman Bieneme. Councilman Desime. Mayor, we have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance with our officer, Anthony Murphy, from North Miami PD.
Everybody can stand. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. If we can still please remain standing while we ask Pastor Derek Allen from Christ Centered Church to please lead us in invocation.
In light of the celebration of Resurrection Sunday and the homegoing of the Reverend Billy Graham, I'd like to share with you from 1 Corinthians chapter 15, which says this: Now I would remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you, which you received, in which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised again on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures. Would you join me in prayer? Father, thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of this day. Thank you, Lord, for the rain that you provided for us today. And Lord, thank you for the freedom, the opportunity to gather in a place like this and be reminded of our duty, our responsibility, and our privilege to lead, not only as councilmen and women, not only as a mayor, but Lord, also as citizens. I pray, Lord, you would hold us fast to that duty and remind us of what a privilege it is. Lord, I pray that you would give us wisdom in the proceedings tonight. Father, I pray that you would provide clarity where there's lack of clarity. I pray that you would provide direction where there's lack of direction. Lord, I pray that you would use us as your hand, as your feet, as your mouthpiece. Lord, would you use us to accomplish your purposes? And Lord, would your will be done on earth as it is in heaven? And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor. At this time, we will ask the manager the opportunity to present any additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda before we proceed.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I do have a couple of changes. For tonight, we will be pulling tab B.
Tab B is you requesting to pull it out, or
Yes,
you pulling?
I'm requesting to pull tab B.
That's the staff needed more time.
Yes.
This is a resolution I had for Ambassador Jay
Okay.
Beats. Jay Beats tab. They needed more time.
Can staff give us clarification as to what that item is, please?
You're removing the tab
I am removing the tab.
completely?
Yes.
Yes. Tab B is an ambassador for our sister city program that we have. We need to do some more work on it to set up and memorialize the program. So this is just, we needed some more time. Staff needs to go deeper with the program and get a program in place before we move forward with an ambassador. So we're asking to pull the tab.
Okay. Any other additions or deletions, amendment?
That's it at this time, sir.
That's it at this time, Mr. Attorney. May we proceed and consider the agenda being set?
There's a question. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mayor, the
No,
agendas.
go ahead. Yeah, the
We
question.
have to hide them in collision with on the agenda. It's the GoBone information, the report, and the discussion. It's actually, we can remove tab, which one?
Tab I.
Tab I.
And combine it with,
and
with the
ask
presentation.
question
Okay.
In the presentation.
Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
cool.
So for the record, we're pulling tab I from the agenda.
And tab B.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir. The agenda is set. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. And I will proceed with line item 5, where we'll do a few special presentation. We'll ask council to please come down with me and do so. Okay, good evening again. The first proclamation will go for Fair Housing Month on behalf of the city residents. We will present this proclamation in honor of Fair Housing Month, and I think the person who's going to be receiving it is Attorney Rob Collins. Attorney Rob Collins, it would be you. It would be you. You do go all the way to South Beach, right? That's right. Oh, okay. But this is not Miami. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 warehouses, but I'm only going to read 2 of them for the sake of, and it's very big too. The proclamation is presented from the city of North Miami for Fair Housing Month, whereas protecting the citizens' rights to housing free of discrimination is a national priority. And whereas the city of North Miami supports national programs with goals that promote freedom to choose a home and fair housing that is consistent with the principle of equality and justice for all. And I'm going to read the last one. And whereas fair housing is achieved through the work of agencies such as Housing Opportunities Project for Excellence Incorporated, HOPE Incorporated, a private fair housing not-for-profit 501c3 corporation dedicated to eliminating housing discrimination by empowering people through education, advocacy, and the enforcement of fair housing laws. And now, therefore, in consideration of the foregoing, I, Dr. Smith Joseph, Mayor of the City of North Miami, on behalf of the City Council and the 60,000 plus, that's right? 60,000 plus? Okay, 60,000 plus residents, we do hereby proclaim today, April 10th, 2018, to be, well, actually the entire month, to be Fair Housing Month. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Oh my gosh, we can do so much better than that. Good evening. Thank you. April marks the National Fair Housing Month, and tomorrow, actually April 11, marks 50 years since the creation of the Fair Housing Act. It was back on April 11th in 1968, after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., that President Lyndon Johnson signed the first Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination concerning the sale, rental, financing of housing based on race, religion, national origin, gender, handicap, or family status. And according to HUD, more than 8,000 reports are given every year, or complaints submitted from persons who have been discriminated against because of housing issues or housing discrimination related complaints. Although the Fair Housing Act has been on the books for over 50 years, we do know that discrimination still exists. And here in the city of North Miami, with a very large immigrant population, a poverty rate of over 26%, we do recognize that housing discrimination happens here locally. To date, since January, HOPE has already recorded 10 cases of housing discrimination that's happened here in the city of North Miami. So in celebration of National Fair Housing Month, North Miami is active in providing workshops through HOPE Inc. We've also had a housing workshop that was hosted by Councilwoman Keys for the second year. I applaud Councilwoman Keys for spearheading that, focusing on housing fairness, education, equipping residents with understanding what their rights are and where the resources are that they could reach out to for legal assistance. So as a longtime partner, HOPE has been assisting the city to resolve housing discrimination complaints. And they've also been able to enforce many of the complaints that have been made and been able to enforce it on the legal frontage by having partnerships with attorneys that come in to represent residents. We've been partnering with them for over the last 14 years, actually. It's a very long-standing relationship. So North Miami applauds Hope for the forward-thinking efforts that they have been partnering with the city on over the last 14 years. And we encourage residents, if you are aware of any discrimination or you're looking for resources for those that are at home, you have a partner through Hope Inc. And we encourage you to call our office here at the City of North Miami to receive resources and assistance. Thank you. I think you have a few words you want to share.
She said it all, but I feel obliged to say something. As the City of North Miami applauds us and our efforts, we thank the City of North Miami for giving us this opportunity. We are a free service to the public as a result of grants like the one we get from the City of North Miami. So if it weren't for the City of North Miami, we wouldn't be able to do this work. So we appreciate the partnership, definitely. Thank you very much.
The second one is going to be presented by our Councilman Galvin for Autism Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nobody told me I was going to be doing this, so I hope I fill in okay. This proclamation is presented for Autism Awareness Month on behalf of the city residents in the City of North Miami. We'd like to ask Yesenia Gonzalez and her family to come forward, please. Yesenia has long been, Jessie, as some of us know her, long been active in the Arch Creek East neighborhood on Northeast 135th Street and long been active in autism awareness. This is her daughter who's here with us today. As we present this to her, oh, she's got socks. The proclamation, as I'll read it very quickly, whereas autism spectrum disorder is a result of a neurological disorder that can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background, and whereas autism spectrum disorder affects 1 in 68 children in the United States, and males are almost 5 times more likely to be affected than females, it's estimated that the autism spectrum disorder is the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States by the CDC and the ADDM, whereas persons with autism spectrum disorder should have access to appropriate services through their lifetime so that they may achieve their greatest potential and lead happy and productive lives within their communities. Now, therefore, Mayor Dr. Smith Joseph and the City Council on behalf of all of our residents, proclaim April in total, April 2018, to be Autism Awareness Month in the City of North Miami.
Yes, as Scott said, my name is Jesse, and I actually have an older son that's a teenager with autism. He chooses not to come to the meetings because he doesn't like people to know. But actually today I tried to force him, but he's a Boy Scout, so he's at a Boy Scout meeting. So that was excusable. I also have my stepdaughter, which I've usually come for Rare Disease Day, who also has a rare disease but also has autism. The reason I specifically wanted the proclamation, and I really appreciate that the city went forward with it, is because July 28th, 2016, many of you saw on the news how the city was proclamated very negative when the shooting occurred with that, the aid of that autistic child. I don't live anymore in the city, but I do have property, and North Miami is very close dear to my heart. I appreciate everything that Commissioner Scott Galvin has done, the mayor, everyone in the community. So I tried to find a way that I could help to bring the image back of North Miami more positive. And so during this month, I had been doing fundraiser. As you see, I have some autism apparel, and I was able to fundraise money, and I was able to give pins. Yes, I'll be doing it in a second. And I was able to fundraise so far $120, and some of the funds were used to give pins to all the police officers in the city, so that way everyone can see that our city is forthcoming. And I was actually given a donation by someone that chose not to say their name, to provide some of the socks to the people of the council. So I appreciate everything that the city has done. I look forward for different people to hear the good things, because obviously the news always projects the negative. And so that's why I wanted to make sure, you know, that everything is done forth. Thank you for taking the time this week.
Queso.
Oh, wait, one more.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.
That's it? We're going upstairs. Huh? That's mine. Yeah. All right. The next item on the agenda has to do with announcement of city events by Ms. Baker.
Hello. I'm not seeing my little thing on here to turn it on. Hello, hello. Oh, it's on. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and North Miami residents. I'm Unicia Baker. I'm the Senior Public Information Officer, and it is my pleasure to share some of our upcoming city events and programs with you this evening. Need help filing your taxes? The AARP Foundation provides free tax return preparations for low and moderate income taxpayers and seniors at the North Miami Public Library every Thursday from 11:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. Assistance is available until April 12th. On Saturday, April 14th, Vice Mayor Keys, Councilman Philippe Bien-Aimé, and the Community Health Empowerment Network invites you to Spring into Health at the second annual Community Health Fair. The event runs from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Cagney Park and features health resources, screenings, and fitness classes. This month's Getting Gear Community Bike Ride also is a part of the festivities. As always, registration for the Getting Gear Community Bike Ride begins at 8 a.m. The 10-mile group bike ride starts and ends at Mocha Plaza. This month's stops include Mr. Trophy and the Spring into Health Fair at Cagney Park. Learn how to make your money work for you at our next financial fitness workshop on select Wednesdays at the North Miami Public Library. The address there is 835 Northeast 132nd Street. Participants will learn how to become financially independent and to build wealth. North Miami residents also will have an opportunity to receive housing counseling and to learn about foreclosure prevention. Learning materials and refreshments will be provided. Visit northmiamifl.gov for a full schedule. The North Miami Educational Foundation Incorporated scholarship applications are now being accepted. The deadline is April 20th. The foundation awards scholarships to applicants who are North Miami residents who are also economically disadvantaged high school graduates. Applications are available on northmiamifl.gov. The English Cafe Kickoff for learners of English as a second language is Thursday, April 26, 2018 at 11 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. at the North Miami Public Library. Participants will have the chance to practice English language skills in a friendly, relaxed atmosphere through guided casual conversation over a cup of coffee or hot tea. The classes will be led by a qualified volunteer instructor and will take place weekly at the same time and location. Reduce stress, control anxiety, and enhance your self-awareness at the North Miami Public Library's newest meditation workshops. The next session is April 28th at 10 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. Learn the most advanced yet ancient method of inner meditation at the NOMI Library. The North Miami Police Department SWAT team and Special Olympian athletes invite you to join them for a 1.5 mile run on Friday, April 20th from 5 to 8 p.m. The run starts at 6 at the North Miami Police Department. The address is 700 Northeast 124th Street, and the race ends at North Miami's public location, which is located at 12800 Biscayne Boulevard. Registration is just $20 and includes a t-shirt. Proceeds benefit the Special Olympics of Florida. To register, contact Officer Ray DeJesus Jr. between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday at 786-236-7699. Monday, April 23rd at 11 a.m. at the Joe Celestine Center, the North Miami Police Department invites you to a badge pinning and promotional ceremony recognizing recent officer appointments, promotions, and new hires. For more information, call the North Miami Police Department. The phone number there is 305-899-2416. Refreshments will be served. Stay up to date with the latest happenings in our city by first visiting www.northmiamifl.gov, then clicking the Connect with NOMI icon on the homepage where you can sign up to receive our monthly newsletter. You may also tune in to our free governmental programming on NOMI TV. It's available 24 hours a day. Residents may also like the City of North Miami on Facebook and follow at NOMI News on Twitter, or download the My NOMI app. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baker. At this time, we'll ask the city manager to proceed with a special presentation to give an update on the general obligation bond education that we have. The deputy manager will do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Arthur Sori, Deputy City Manager. We have a brief presentation that will outline some of the bond educational information that we're moving forward with. The image you have now is our landing page, northmiamigobond.com. And this is a link to our city website. Our slogan for this bond is Together We Grow, the NOMI Geo bond, election May 1st. And these are some of the collateral materials. This is our flyer that's been being circulated now at the moment. This is going to be our first mailer, which has our frequently asked questions, goes through a timeline of where we've been and how we're going to get to the election. It does highlight what the average cost for the average resident is in the city, and does highlight the web page and information about voting. We've recorded a couple PSAs that are running on the city's social media platforms, website, and on our YouTube channel. Councilman Galvin and the mayor both recorded PSAs. And some of our Go Bond educational highlights. March 22nd, we hosted the clergy of all local churches within North Miami. And basically what we're doing now is delivering the message, the educational message to all of these stakeholders in the community. So these are people that the residents look up to. So we're giving them the correct information, showing them how to navigate through our website so they can share it with individuals and tell individuals what the message are. That way basically they're trainings for these individuals to educate them on how to discuss the bond and what we're doing. We did the Orange Creek East Homeowners Association. We had a session with all the radio media. On April 5th, we sent the newsletter out to all of our constant contacts. That's everybody who is registered with the City of North Miami, all the emails we have. We have sent that out to all of them to let them know that the election is coming and giving them information. And we will continue to send out messages through constant contacts. As I stated earlier, we have bond-focused PSAs on various city media outlets. And on April 7th, we started our ground outreach efforts. The first efforts were yard signs. We have the park banners everyone sees. We have the pole banners also in the downtown area. So our ground outreach efforts have commenced. Some of the collateral materials: flyers, yard signs, park fence banners, pole banners, door hangers, A-frames, bus shelters, and benches. The budget for the educational campaign. This is a breakdown of how the funds are being spent. Mosaic Group, that's the group that developed the message that is basically running our campaign for us. They're doing all the collateral, all the promotional materials, the mailers, the designs, everything is what they're doing. And this is just a breakdown. Right now, we anticipate to be at $108,000, just under the 110 budgeted amount that the council approved. And again, together we grow, improve, expand, create, protect. Election on May 1st. And we'll go with any questions.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
where the people can find a list of projects and dollar amount?
A complete list of all of the projects are on the city's website, the Go Bond page, and each project is listed with the prices that we came with at the council meeting when we did approve the ordinance.
In the mailer that we are going to send out, will you have that? Like the brochure mail.
In the brochure
Please.
mailer, it'll go over the frequently asked questions. I believe it highlights the highlights in each particular category. But there's
And
two
sec-
mailers going out, so we can put one that has all of the projects.
Because you put one on the screen.
Yes,
It
that
seems
doesn't.
like you have too much reading, less of a list of
Well,
projects.
that mailer does have the frequently asked questions, which everybody wanted to know about. The frequently asked questions that people can read and have all the information.
It's two-sided. So on the one side, you have the flyer, which is the simple message with the categories that you see on the main flyers. The back side of it has we wanted to put out the frequently asked questions in a neater format other than what we have on the website itself. So that's why you see
That's
more
mean you don't have-
information.
You don't have any brochures that you have out in our lobby and everywhere that have the list of questions, all those line item and the amount?
No, we don't have one with that, but we can put one together and have it out.
Don't you think it will be very important for people to know what's coming in the neighborhood? Like if I live in District 4, I know, okay, you ask for a bond, what's coming to because I heard on the radio and someone said, okay, why you went and built a community center on Solemia site? But they don't know that.
There's others,
That we do
yeah,
with
right.
Claude Pepper Park. They didn't know that. That's
So we can since we are pushing out on all the platforms, and I think we still have a trifold that we're looking to put together, we can see if we can design something that has a more detailed list of the projects.
yeah, what's
The-
coming your way, things
yeah,
like that. Because
right.
if people are not gonna read all those questions and those answers, if you said there's a list of 20 projects and they can identify, oh, they're gonna redo Claude Pepper Park or Sunkist finally gonna get something done. I think people can.
Okay.
It can be better in that capacity. As far as the financial and output on how much people are going to be paying per household, when the first phase, the second phase, or at the end. And I heard someone say it's going to cost them $25 a month. That number is coming when? The first phase, at the end?
So based on the information that we have posted, the calculator is based on the average that you'll pay over the 30-year timeline of the bond itself. I think in most cases that number is there's a calculation that shows on a $200,000 average home without the impact of the solar
You mean
meter.
average home?
Average assessed value of a home.
I think, I'm sorry, I think we're going into the discussion of the bond, which we already did prior to and during the day that we actually voted on it. Let's try to keep the scope. This is a presentation on education. If we can try to limit it to just that, I mean, it would be much, because otherwise,
Because it's question- it's
if
on
each
the
of us
radio.
go if each of us go and erupt a line of questions just like is going now, then it's going to be that discussing the bond again, right?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
So, like, I thought this presentation was for you guys to give us an update of what you are doing thus far with the $120, $120,000 that we actually allocated for that thing to be done. If we can curtail this discussion just to that, it would be made more efficiently.
Yeah, but
question
man,
after this.
no, but to understand that, may understand that people on the street, when the information, you start spread the information. Now there is some questions coming in. That's why I want the administration to be aware of what people been asking in the education part. They can know exactly how to
react,
answer people,
how to
because
react.
on the radio, some people give bad information about how much they're going to be paying or not.
And through the manager, let me say, over the course of the rest of this month, through our current media contracts, we're going to be still out speaking on the radio, answering questions, and going through what the numbers are and what it means to the residents. So we're going to continue to do our outreach through the radio, through our already media spots we have in place.
And you need to explain them that those numbers is based on the amount of units or property that we have.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
in the middle of the year, let's say in 2 years, in 4 years, or 5 years, we have 5,000 additional units. That's when the amount gonna go down.
Yes.
Those are the things that need to be addressed in the information, because we want people to be aware on everything, and they can know exactly how to vote
for the referendum.
for the
And I do want to put on the record, we are in the meetings that we're having, the outreach meetings, we are addressing that issue specifically, but we can come up with maybe a message that is more succinct about the timing of when that tax will hit and how it will hit. But that is one of the follow-up questions that we're getting in the smaller sessions that we're having.
I think you are next. Go ahead.
Quick question, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, not Mr. Mayor, Mr.
Manager.
Deputy Manager. I had sent a request. Would that request be, when would I be getting the request based on the detailed of the financial, expenditure?
I have it. It's
Okay.
almost the same exact.
No. You saw what the email that I sent. More detail.
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
Get it, you'll
Okay.
have it first thing in the morning.
Thank
we
you.
have it, we put it together.
The Vice Mayor?
Yeah, on the calculator, I'm getting a few comments that it's not really easy to find or to use. I promised to do a calculation for a resident who didn't have a computer. My question to you is, are we using the assessed value or taxable value? Because you have an assessed value and then you have exemptions.
It's the assessed value. So we're giving, and we've stated this before in building the calculator, we're kind of giving you a worst case scenario, but when we do our meetings, we talk about the fact that while this is your assessed value, depending on if you're a veteran or you're a senior or you have some ailment that allows you an additional exemption, that it is possible that a potential homeowner, while their assessed value is $200,000, when you get through all their exemptions, they could be paying zero taxes. We have that discussion, but we didn't want to put that out because it tended to, we didn't want to be accused of fooling the taxpayers. Oh,
So it's gonna go on
yeah.
assessed, so their taxes actually have an exemption anyway. It works out the same way, but if you put in the assessed value, that will be your tax, not
Correct.
the, okay.
Correct.
any way you can make it a little bit more friendly or have its own little
We
button?
can try to see if we can just put a bigger touch button on the website, because right now it's there, but we can put
There
it.
really is no button. There was a button. Now you have to go into financial documents, and then you have to go into
That's what I'm
a
saying.
line
We
that
can
says
put it on a
little
touch button.
picture of a little calculator. Hit
And
it.
hit
That would
that.
be
We
great.
can do
Something
that.
like that.
Okay. There is no more. My only concern is I believe absentee ballots will be out. It is sometime this week or today, actually. Absentee ballots are out, and I did some drive-through and walk-through different areas of the city from east to west. I don't see too many signs, too many yard signs out. How many have we ordered thus far? Do we know?
We have approximately 300 yard signs that are out on the street right now. I think we have approximate maybe 300 more.
Yeah.
That is going to go out with the second phase. They're downstairs, ready to go out. We're going to be passing out the rest of the collateral to the ground individuals between tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then that information will be out on the street as well.
I drove through District 4 yesterday. I saw none whatsoever. I drove from 121st to 135th, from 7th Ave, well, actually from North Miami Avenue all the way to 17th. I saw no one sign in any swell area or yard sign. So if we're paying people to walk the streets and put the signs, they need to put them on. If they don't put them on, if they haven't gotten paid, they will not get paid. No one will get paid for work that they do not do. I worked last night, and I'm going to work again tomorrow. I'm going to work every day to make sure that those signs, they don't stay in anybody's trunks or backyards or garages while they're getting paid. I'm going to walk them through. I'm going to take pictures wherever I see one. So far, I can't bring you any picture because I haven't seen one. I only saw 3 in District 3 yesterday.
That means you haven't worked the district, man.
You
haven't worked the district.
I've been working. I've been driving. I saw 3 of them between 9 and 10th Avenue.
You better work
If we're paying people better work for what they have to work for what they get paid for.
Are we supposed to have yard signs up?
Yeah.
Because
We're
I've
paying people to do
seen
it.
a few on fences throughout the city.
Hmm?
I've only
It's
seen
not-
a few on the fences.
It's not the city. The
No,
city
the-
doesn't run the operation. Mr.
The
Mayor.
city is the one. The city is paying people.
The city is not paying
the
people.
city. They just showed that the city paid Mosaic $15,000 for general obligation bond education. Who's Mosaic anyway?
Mosaic is a company that we identified in our research that has worked on other campaigns throughout South Florida. So they were good at building the marketing message.
And
and the brand.
my understanding is that they've already engaged some people
Yes,
from the community to go around and put up signs.
Absolutely. So
We gotta put them signs up because we've been at this for like over 2 years now. We're trying to get this bond together, educating people, do town hall meetings, and now we got to the last part where the rubber hits the road. The rubber better hit the road or we ain't going nowhere. This ain't no joke. People get paid, they gotta work. Any other comments? All right. Next presentation is on Clean City presentation. Clean City, Mr. Attorney.
Never been up here before.
Yes, you have. You remember that strip club?
We don't want to talk about those.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents.
You said it.
I'm here
You
to
opened the
talk
door.
about the Clean City Task Force that you've all heard. We've been alluding to the last few weeks. So this is the first presentation. I'll talk about how we got here. Really, tonight is just introduction. You'll see most of what we're doing next meeting to coincide with Earth Day, which is on April 22nd. So on April 24th, we'll actually roll out some of the legislation that we're proposing. The purpose of the Clean City Task Force, we organized in January 2018, and I don't see Chief Each here, but I pretty much got tired of hearing Chief Each every meeting come up here and say, what are we doing about cleaning the city? So I took the initiative of just grabbing everyone and we put this thing together. So you can see the membership. It's pretty much myself as the chair because I started it, and Chief Jariga because he's a big guy, and then pretty much all the other departments that have anything to do with cleaning in the city. And really what this is it's kind of a no-brainer, but really there wasn't a lot of discussions between all of the departments on cleaning the city. So we basically just got together to start doing this. The meetings take place every Wednesday after council every other Wednesday when we don't have council meeting. We've been meeting with other resources, other lawyers, other cities, just to try to get ideas on how to deal with some of the issues that we're dealing with. The issues that we're dealing with are basically, real property issues, foreclosures, unsafe, abandoned, unkept, derelict, and dilapidated buildings. We're dealing with litter, shopping carts, derelict phone booths, illegal dumping, garbage, graffiti, abandoned vehicles, alleyways, and stray animals. So all of those are being addressed. That's a photograph of an alleyway, so you can see what some of the things that we're dealing with. The meetings are informal. They're voluntary, maximum 1 hour. Like I said, we're meeting with experts. We've actually gone out on field visits and looked at some of the properties that we're dealing with. So one of the major things that we're talking about in the cleanliness of the city is abandoning shopping carts. We didn't realize, you'll see a photograph here in a little bit about what kind of issues the shopping carts are dealing with. But just as an example, our shopping cart administrative regulation has not been touched since, I think it was 1993. So we charge right now $10 per shopping cart, per shopping cart that the city ends up picking up. You'll see some legislation next meeting that'll get us somewhere in the neighborhood of $250, which we hope will be an incentive so that folks will police their shopping carts. But you see, there's another photograph of what the city's staff is picking up in terms of tires and that sort of thing. So in terms of real property issues, one of the major things we're dealing with, and you'll see a photograph later on, is we get all the emails from the council members. They go around, residents complain about their neighbors' houses that are in states of disrepair. One of the issues we're really dealing with is a lot of these homes are homestead properties. And so I've heard it myself where people say, well, you can't do anything to me. You can't foreclose on me. I'll be in this house until I die, and I'm not fixing it. So we're addressing that kind of issue, and you'll hear more about it as we go on through this process. But one of the things that we've identified is that the city needs its own unsafe structures board. Right now, the building department goes to the county to deal with any kind of unsafe structures issues, and they have issues with quorum. It's expensive. It takes a long time, and we have a lot of properties that need to go through this process. We've actually had a meeting with the City of Miami Gardens. They have their own unsafe structures board. We've set a goal for ourselves to have an unsafe structures board in the City of North Miami by January of 2019. They're going to help us along. We have a MOU that we're going to be bringing to you in the future where we work with them to get some of our unsafe structures cases dealt with. It's cheaper going through them, and it'll help the staff as we build our own unsafe structures process. We think that that's going to be a good thing for the city, and that'll help alleviate some of the issues that we're dealing on much quicker than we're dealing with them right now. This is one of those homes that I'm talking about, and according to the chief, this is one of the individuals who says, I'm not moving, I'm not doing anything about this, the blue tarp of my house, and it's homestead. I believe the gentleman is a veteran, so And one of the things I want to make a point of, one of the things I told everyone at the meeting, this isn't about ticketing people, this isn't about punishing people. There's a carrot and a stick approach. To the extent that we can get grants for folks, help people out to help them do the right thing, we're going to do that. So I don't want this to sound like, oh, the city's going to just drop the hammer on everyone. But all we're trying to do is get folks to comply so that their neighbors, can have a nice, safe environment to live in. Litter has always been an issue. We've heard the issues about litter, cans, and all of that. Hopefully everyone's seen the folks walking around the city in the green vests. That was an initiative that came out of the hurricane. We had some folks. They were here to clean up some of the debris. We actually got additional funding, so we've kept them on, and they've been going around and doing a phenomenal job of just cleaning. So we just send them to a specific area, they spend the day there, and they pick it up. So you'll see that. We're going to be, as part of the initiative, you're going to see other Clean City teams funded both by the CRA and the city in next year's budget. So we'll have that resource for us. And then again, education. The 24th, we're going to be kicking off our education process. The PIO is part of the Clean City Task Force, and they're working on that. You're also going to see one of the things we did, we spoke to FDOT. FDOT also has their own initiative, so they're going to be coming next meeting to discuss what they're going to be doing about cleaning the highway. So you'll see all of that. And then enhancement of equipment. I think in the budget you're going to see another request for another sweeper, so we have that capacity to sweep up the streets. So we have that going. This is one of our field visits. This is a pool that's half empty, poses a danger. You know, one of the things that we're talking about is, you know, a child falls into that pool and dies. The amount of money the city would end up, the liability that we'd have on that is it's much more than what we would spend on just doing the right thing and going out and taking care of these properties. So again, we've got ways that we're going to be bringing up to deal. And actually, I just noticed it, but you see a shopping cart in the back there too. Shopping carts, again, like I said, one of the biggest contributors to overall uncleanliness. There's no real ordinance dealing with that. The state has preempted some of the things that we can do, but we've been looking at other cities and how they've been dealing with them, and we have an ordinance that'll be before you next meeting. This is an example of what's in our yards right now. This was 62 shopping carts that were picked up all over the city. And what Chief actually pointed out to me is, you know, you think, you know, it's bad enough to just look at these things, but they've had instances where they roll into the street and, you know, and can cause people to crash and, you know, have bodily harm and damage to vehicles. So we're going to be dealing with that pretty soon. Another initiative, actually this one was started by the North Miami Police Department, derelict phone booths. There's phone booths all over the city. They're not working. Sometimes it's just the stand. So they actually went around talking to the property owners where these phone booths are and been taking them out. So this is an example of a phone booth that was there. It's you know, it's kind of a nuisance because, you know, someone can just be hanging out there. And this is, I believe this is in front of a residence. So all of those have been, you know, taken out. This I think it's something like 24 of them throughout the city been taken out. Most of them voluntarily by the property owners. So what are our challenges? Like I said, up until now, there's been a lack of comprehensive approach, right? So everyone is dealing with their issue, code enforcement building, and no one's really been getting in one room and talking. So we're dealing with that, you know, coming up with processes on how to deal with this specific issue, that specific issue. We're putting that together. Lack of communication between us, the property owners, the elected officials, and lack of a dedicated funding. So we don't really have a funding source just for the Clean City Initiative, which we're talking about taking care of for next year, so that'll be coming up. So initial recommendations, we have an educational campaign. Like I said, it will be starting on the 24th. There was a beautification program, award program in the city, I believe a couple of years ago. We're trying to revive that, establishing North Miami Unsafe Structures Board, entering into a memorandum of understanding with a neighboring city to use their unsafe structures board until we can get ours off the ground, adopt a shopping cart administrative regulation, establish the Clean City teams, which we've been doing, remove the derelict payphones, contract with an outside vendor for animal removal services. We're actually in the process of dealing with that right now. You know, I think everyone's seen the chickens and the cats. The only thing that's been holding us off on there, we're trying to get verification from the vendor that no animals will be killed if they're taken from the city. So that's the one thing. They've said it, but I want it in writing, so that contract won't come to you until that's made clear. And then obtain the additional equipment and resources, which will be in next year's budget. And then the last, which you all can decide, is I don't know if it'll be an ad hoc committee or something along the other boards that we have, but establishing a Clean City board made up of residents so we can bounce some of these ideas against them. And these are. This is just the end of the presentation, but again, these are the folks that have been going around right now as the part of your Clean City teams doing the cleanups. If there's any questions, happy to take them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Kazoo. I know you've been working on this several months, and all my complaints have been going to you. You've been working on them, and I see a difference, and it's so important, and I am totally supportive of budget, whatever you need to make our city clean. You got my support. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, through to the city attorney, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. This would make an absolutely fantastic e-blast for Councilman Galvin to send out. So if you can work with whomever, you know, at PIO to turn that presentation into a shorter synopsis, I pledge to you to put it out, you know, singing the praises of your committee, and letting them know that people are working. Because one of the house with the blue tarp is one that I get repeated emails on, and it would at least be good to show those residents that we are trying to do something about it.
And to the mayor, I want to thank you for this initiative, and we will support you, and we will make sure the upcoming budget have enough funding to address that. Also, the alleyways. Are we done with the cleanup, the one-time cleanup? I'm still receiving complaints about those alleyways.
Through the manager, we did the one-time full city cleanup of the alleyways. So we're done with it.
You have a report that all of them has been done?
We do have a report, and we have the alleyways, a list of it with maps that we used to go through and do them. So they're done, but I'll get you a follow-up report on everything that was done.
To make sure all of them has been done.
No problem.
Because I'm still receiving complaints about some alleyways, and people are calling me. That's mean I don't know if they've been done or not. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Items, the consent agenda items A through D without tab B, right?
That's correct.
Okay, tab B has been omitted, so we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve the consent agenda, which is A, C, and D. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item passed with a 4-0 vote. When the councilman comes back, Mayor, we'll just record his vote.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there he goes. Councilman, how do you vote on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab E.
He said yes.
I'm sorry.
He said yes.
Consent agenda,
Yes.
consent agenda.
The consent.
Okay. All right, 5-0. Tab E.
Tab B as in Easter.
That's correct. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the execution of a lease agreement in substantially the attached form between 805 Realty LLC as landlord and the city of North Miami as tenant for properties located at 809 and 811 Northeast 125th Street for a term of 3 years commencing on or about April 15, 2018 until March 31st, 2021 in the initial yearly base rent amount of $62,019.96, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Through the mayor. This is an item we did brief each of you, but at the last meeting we forgot to insert the actual full lease. As I listed in my staff report, this is an effort to provide better customer service to the citizens. Right now, if you come into the lobby, the queuing between the city clerk's office with the great volume of passports, UB, cashier, it's really getting congested. Also, I have a number of code enforcement officers that are packed into a modular building down at the end of our city property. So I'm asking the city to approve this short-term lease. This will provide us a more immediate short-term solution. The plan is to lease this space, provide for an actual customer service storefront right here across the street from City Hall, and allow for more space for the code enforcement department to be housed in the back. The terms, 3-year term, we're paying approximately $1.66 per square foot per month, which is well in keeping with the rent in the area, and the landlord, IMC, which is our very well-known property owner, Urim, here in North Miami, has agreed to allow for no increases for the entire term of the lease, and if we need to, allow for us to have early termination. So I'd ask for your support on the item.
Thank you. So what are we again? We are now the 5th largest city in Miami-Dade County, right? We used to be 3rd, and then 4th, and then now 5th. And well, city, I guess administration is growing so much that we have to actually go out and lease and don't have a municipal complex that can accommodate. Thus, the need for rushing, well, I wouldn't say rush, to answer to the quest of having this municipal complex so we don't have to actually do this. The item is now open to the public for anyone who wishes to be heard. Now is the time to come to the mic and let yourself be heard. On item E as in Easter. The city is about to lease two parcels, right?
Two retail bays.
2 retail spaces. How many square feet are those?
3,100 square feet.
In total?
In total.
Okay. I see no one, hear none. Public hearing is now closed on the item. We come back to the dais for further discussions. All right. Clerk, Mr. Clerk, there is no discussion.
Do I have a motion to approve tab E?
I move.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mayor Smith Joseph to approve tab E. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab F. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing and directing the intervention into a lawsuit seeking a declaration that the provisions punishing elected officials set forth in section 790.33 Florida statutes for violating the preemption related to the regulation of firearms and ammunition are invalid, and retaining the law firm of Wise, Sirota, et al. For that purpose, and providing an effective date and all other purposes. And that's tab F.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. If you remember clearly at our last meeting, we, there was an incident that occurred at one of our parks in Keystone. So I raised the questions of measures that could be taken, and I sat down with the city attorney, subsequently with the chief, to find out, what efforts, could be made to try to abate some of these problems with firearms in our parks. We know that our parks is a place where families, go, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, and kids, where they can play. So I came up with some ideas and suggestions, but we were advised, not to go any further because of those preemptive laws that has been enacted at the level of the state. As you all know, there is a movement or lawsuit going on with probably maybe 15 cities by now, maybe 10, 15, or 20.
We haven't gotten a final count, Mayor, but the original number was 10, but I know some more cities have joined.
More cities are joining every single day. So I think that's why I asked the city attorney to see if we can come with a resolution, and ask my colleagues to really support this and see if not Miami could be part of this movement. So at this time, we'll open it to the public. For anyone who wishes to be heard, please come to the mic before we bring it back to the dais. Item F, item Frank, is open for public hearing, but see none, hear none. Public hearing is now closed. We'll come to the dais for further discussion, questions, or concerns.
Go ahead. After you come, Vice Mayor.
So, for everyone to understand, so I'm clear with the attorney, we are also going to, are we going to join in to a class lawsuit with other cities, municipalities?
It's not really a class. It's just a group of cities that have come together to sue the state.
Is it going to be one action, or is it going to be
It's
like?
one action right now. So we would just join the lawsuit along
So
with
we're
the other
joining,
cities.
and we have agreed to hire
It's White Sorota Healthman.
White Sorota for a fee of
It's a flat fee
A
of
flat fee.
$10,000.
Mhm.
So it's not going to
No.
go on, and it's going to be done in the name of the of City of North Miami, not individually,
Correct.
unless we choose to.
Unless you choose to, yes.
Okay, because our hands are pretty much tied. We can't put a no guns sign up in our parks. We can't do
This
anything.
doesn't make any sense.
And I think it's important, so I would support you, Mayor.
Thank you.
May I go, Mr. Mayor? First and foremost, let me applaud the mayor for this initiative. I know this is an important subject to many of us, especially when it deals with gun violence in our community. I mean, as liberal as I am, I would definitely see whatever the attorney could do to even strengthen this, but definitely this is a full support, Mr. Mayor, for this initiative.
No comment? No comment? Janie's got a gun. Da-na-na-na-na.
You wanna take
Is it
away
Jenny
Michael's
or Jenny?
gun?
Jenny?
Probably.
Jenny.
Michael's.
Do I have a
Can I-
motion to?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Councilman Desme to approve tab F. The motion was second by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab G, proposed ordinance, second reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 6 of the North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Elections by amending Article 4 entitled Election Administration, specifically at section 6-78 entitled Election of City Council Members, providing for repeal, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and for an effective date.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. This is the second reading, second and last reading of this ordinance from our last meeting. The item is now open for public comment, or public hearing, I should say. Item G as in God or good, if you want to add one O. I see none, hear none. Public hearing is now closed. Any discussion from the dais?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if you allow me, definitely would support the item, especially for any, what's the term, carpetbaggers? This fit pretty well, and I definitely think this has strengthened our election code and folks who don't live here and trying to come here to run. So definitely I'll support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? There is none, Mr. Clerk. I will make a motion to approve.
Mayor,
Yes, roll call.
before you guys vote on this, there's an issue that came up that I think the council should be made aware of, so that there's no confusion, at least regarding qualifying. Just to be clear, this ordinance prohibits people from using subleases to qualify for a particular place. So even if a person is is some type of efficiency in the back, if it's not considered a multifamily, it can be a sublease. But what it doesn't cover is the license. So we have situations where individuals are asking us questions regarding, what if the person's license is a sublease address, and they can't use a sublease, but they can use the license and the voter registration, and the house they're living in is still a sublease. This doesn't address that. So I just wanted to be clear to answer the question publicly. The charter specifically says that a person needs to provide a state-issued government ID, and it needs to be valid for a year. Now, if on that state-issued government ID, if it's a sublease or not on that license, at this point, the clerk office we have no recourse. We have to accept that as a qualifying item. So just to be clear, to answer questions that members of the public had, this only prohibits people from using subleases.
And can I say something?
Yes.
From what I understand, I don't know if I'm clear, Mr. City Attorney, in the event one of those two documents cannot be a sublease. But besides that, if the person went to other documents and the person is qualified.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
well, actually, so right now the way our ordinances are written There's an affidavit that's provided to the clerk.
Yeah, all those are the
That's
things.
one.
Yeah.
And then there's a government-issued identification. That can be any government-issued
Is it
identification.
2 or 1?
One?
You have
No,
two identifications. One has to be a government-issued identification, and then the other can be anything that's on that list in the ordinance.
And
It
it
can-
need to-
but it
and-
cannot
and-
be a sublease.
And you need
Or
to
cannot
show
be
1
owned.
year living at that address.
It has to
Yeah,
show 1
that's-
year of living.
Okay.
For
So the-
both. Yeah.
So the government-issued document has to be more than a year old?
Yeah.
Issued
Yes, it
more
has
than
to
a
show
year
they've
old.
been living there for more than a
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what were you saying, Mr. Clerk, in
So
reference
what
to?
he said, it was correct. So as long as it shows that that address is in North Miami in that district for a year, whether or not that address is a sublease or not, we are still accepting
Yeah.
that
yeah.
ID.
So what is the purpose of this?
We only
then?
use
The purpose of this is to prohibit people from just using a sublease as their
second
number 2.
document.
So the second 2 documents, so that I can.
It can be
clear.
a voter registration card. It can be something that's proven residency for at least a year. It needs to at least be an ID, a
That we
state
know.
ID. But then it can be anything else except for a sublease if it's a sublease.
So this really doesn't go around the carpetbaggers. What I'm trying to say, so if somebody have an ID, let's just say they have an ID that they were at a particular resident.
Right.
Part of your requirement documents are what? Like they will have like a water bill? Or
Well, so what we
Mr.
would
Attorney.
need for qualifying, there's a list out. Do you have the ordinance in front
Yeah,
of you,
I'm-
Jeff?
I'm
Okay,
looking
he'll
at the
read out the
ordinance
list. So
Okay.
you need one state ID plus
Got
one of
it.
the things Jeff's about to read out.
Because I don't think this would make sense.
It doesn't, but you're right.
Yeah.
Guys, there's too many conversations going on. I can't keep up with what's being said. I'm sorry.
So just to go back again, so our charter, which is our
Bible.
governing
Bible.
document, says you have to have a government-issued ID and one other identification. When we took a look at our code, our code just said you have to provide two
Nice. Okay.
forms of identification. So the change we're making is to make our code match our charter to require that one of those identifications be a government-issued, a Florida government-issued identification, and then it can be any of the following documents: a voter registration card, driver's license, property tax receipt, homestead exemption, utility bill, or lease agreement, but it cannot be a sublease.
So it's just a sublease, but you said, can you please read that list to me again, Mr. Attorney? Because I'm trying to find it in the.
It's
You
a
said-
voter's registration.
Got it.
Driver's license.
Okay.
Property tax receipt.
Got it.
Homestead exemption.
Okay.
Utility bill.
And that would be coming from us, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but
Or FPL.
the utility
Okay.
bill has to show that you're living in the city for a year, and then or a lease agreement.
Oh, okay. So the lease. Okay. So it's a minor little.
Right. So the
Cut.
issue that
It's
come
not
up
that
on
big.
whether
Use the sublease as the second
Is the
document.
second.
Right.
So what we
'Cause-
should have done is, I'm just saying, we should have make it a little bit more up to some of these loophole, the FPL and all that. It needed to be, because I know those could be needed to be the government, the voter registration. We know all of the things that you listed up until, I guess here the last 2. That's my only little thing. That's what the little loophole is, because it sounds good up until, because the voter
So the last
registration we know. Yeah, I think the last 2 when they mentioned the
utility bill or lease agreement.
yeah, the utility. I don't know. What if they come up with some phone bill from somewhere and they said this is their phone bill?
No, their name would be on it.
No, I know, but
Like he's talking about a cell phone bill, like a
cell phone bill
Sprint
from
8.
a friend who owns a cell phone company.
Cell phone is not utility.
It's not.
No, cell phone is not considered as an utility.
Yes, sir.
Utility is water and FPNL. That's utility.
Oh, so okay.
Cell phone is not utility
Yes, it
bill.
is. It's
No,
not.
it's just water in
Cell phone is a
electricity.
luxury item.
Unless
It's
it's a
not
land-
utility item.
Does our city attorney agree that a cell phone is not a utility?
I mean, the day of it's not a utility. I mean, a utility is something that's attached to the property. I mean, I'd have to look up to see what the legal definition is.
Comcast would be.
Right now-
Comcast would.
Yeah,
Comcast would
Comcast
be.
will be an-
makes sense.
Yeah, Comcast would be.
Comcast is
I
not.
would feel comfortable
You
if
can
we
live
kinda,
without Comcast. It's not
if we could
utility.
put those names
the term
or
is for-
something.
Is light bill
The light.
and water bill.
I think that would be good
That's
if you put
utility.
those 2.
You cannot put it. It said
Hey,
utility.
guys,
It's
Don't forget,
utility.
this is a
Is
constitutional
it since
right
this
for
is
people to
since
run.
this is
There-
an ordinance?
there-
how
I'm
does
gonna let
it
him
go?
speak, but there's
The only-
limits here. Go ahead.
The only reason I wouldn't do that, and I mean, there was a suggestion that we get rid of lease agreements also,
Can't.
is at some point, you can't be too restrictive.
We have
So
a
I didn't,
higher
so
power to
example,
answer
the
to.
lease agreement, I said, I was asked to take that out. I recommended we not take that out because, you don't want to make it to the point that only someone who owns property in the city
No.
can vote.
Exactly.
So,
No.
people can rent and still run
Absolutely.
for office. And so, I think some of it needs to be left to interpretation. That's why you have a clerk here to look at those documents and decide, that's why he's a supervisor of elections.
I would say the higher court is much. Yeah, we would take that to the higher court. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion made by Councilman. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve tab G?
Yes, yes, I
So
did.
moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by
Who was
Councilwoman.
that before?
Okay, Councilwoman Keys to approve tab G. This motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. And I'm going to do roll call vote. Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Desiree,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Keys,
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme.
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab H, discussion regarding the 151 at Biscayne ground lease.
Through the mayor, each of you back in about approximately October of last year received a CC of a letter requesting that we consider selling the land underneath the 151 at Biscayne Landing property. If you recall, that is the first two towers located at the Biscayne Landing site. The letter actually, which we received from Andrew Hellinger, the court-appointed receiver for the condominium association, who is here tonight, actually proposed a purchase price of $5,595,000. As a preliminary measure, the city went out and got an independent CPA firm to do a valuation of basically the land and the remaining cash flows under the existing 200-year lease, and there's approximately 186 years left on that land lease. Based on the assumptions, and each of you have a copy of that report. Based on the assumptions, the independent CPA believes that the value is approximately $10 million. I wanted to provide the council together with this information and ask your direction to continue moving forward with negotiating with the condominium association, which would involve obviously hiring of real estate attorney. We'd have to do surveys and take a few more actions to actually consummate an actual sales transaction. I would, in listening to I met with one of the condo board members and with Mr. Hellinger, and he can speak for himself, but I'll just add that one of the things that they talked about is in some of the turnover of the units with the lease, they're having some issues. Some of the potential new owners are having issues with financing as a potential issue with not having fee simple ownership of the land. We have also, in like kind, sold the land to the Solomia developer on the residential side of their development as well. So I would actually submit to you that this may be something that we want to consider and pursue, but we want to make sure we get the right number and have all the right inclusions and deed restrictions and all of those things that would be necessary to move forward with an actual sale of the property.
So you said this, I don't know, appraisal or evaluation, whatever term you may want to use, wasn't by independent?
It was an independent CPA firm that we hired.
That we hired?
Yes.
And close to 10 million?
Yes. Just the hair under it.
Okay, do we have any more stuff? This is the discussion.
It's just a discussion to see, to garner your direction if you want me to continue to pursue the transaction, and then actually go spend the real money to get the documents, because, not that this transaction is as big as the Solomia sales, but it is significant enough that we need to make sure we do it the right way. And you guys spent significant dollars and time ensuring that that sale was consummated properly.
Mr. Lin.
And Mr. Hellinger is here.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah,
Mr.
And I have a question. In a code, or don't we have when someone wanna buy a city property, they have to cover the expenses of the survey and all those
Yeah, they
things?
would, and that would be one of the things I would have. I just want to,
Oh, okay.
before we would deal with all of those matters.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you
But
guys are okay with
it will
me.
be a reimbursement,
Yeah, right,
right,
and figuring all
if
that
the
stuff
deal
out.
is done.
Right.
Right now, how much do we get from that lease?
In the report, it gives you, well, we're supposed to receive approximately $559,500 a year
Every year.
through
If the building is fully
2103.
occupied?
Yeah,
Is
2104.
it, if it's fully,
If all the units are filled and we're getting all of the payments that we're supposed to receive, which is, I think it's 12,000 a year per unit.
Doesn't matter
Okay.
if it's occupied. Still
Okay.
owed.
that will be,
Yeah, it should. Well,
Yeah,
the-
I mean, yeah,
the
it shouldn't
developer-
matter because
developer Or the owner of the unit. They've all been sold, so whoever owns the unit, whether
Now.
they have a tenant or not, still is responsible to
Yeah.
pay.
But
That's
we
when
have
we-
had some situations where in
Listen,
foreclosure
Mr.
where we've lost some of the money.
Well,
and
whoever
Cal,
got it in foreclosure.
Vice Mayor Keys,
Yes, sir.
you said in the agreement, whether the unit is occupied or not, they still have to pay?
Somebody owns the unit.
There's an owner.
Okay.
And that owner has bought it subject to this
Yeah.
lease, and that
Okay.
lease has obligations of payment.
yeah.
How come you never receive the full $559,000 every year?
I mean, again, in my short history at the city, we've had situations where, through foreclosure or some transaction, we've lost some of the proceeds of the sale. I'm not saying for the entire year, but we have lost some dollars. And in some cases, we've not received the full,
Reports?
Yeah. Well, I asked the finance director to provide me with the reports, to go back and provide the reports.
But
and
from
that's
what I
something-
understand, they never send
Right.
the full amount of 550,000 for the year. And they send you the check
559.
without an explanation.
Yeah. That's the rent.
Why is that? How many payments did you receive so far while you, from finance director to now?
Is Miguel here?
Miguel,
Yeah.
Mr. Hellinger could answer that.
no, we receive, not he sent.
Okay.
I don't have I can tell you it's been sporadic, but I don't have the full accounting going back to the
What
beginning
was the
of
last
lease.
time you received one payment of $559,000?
Hold on one second.
When was the last time we received a payment? Period.
Yeah, but we never received the full amount anyway.
Finance
Hold
Director
on one
Miguel
second. Hold
Augusto.
on. I think he's checking something.
Yeah, I'm checking the report he sent me. I don't think this is by date. All right. Is this the last payment on this report? Yes. So the last payment that I have on this report is recorded 12.
Last year,
Yeah.
2017.
And it was one payment in the amount of, it's for a specific, it's for a specific count of units. It was 21 units, and it was an amount of $31,500.
We're supposed to receive 559
Right,
every
no,
year.
but there are several payments.
There
so-
were several payments.
There's several payments. I just gave you the last one. The last big one we got was, 243,000 even.
Okay.
And that was for.
A simple question. Did you ever receive the full amount of 559,000 for a year?
Since I've been here, no, I have not.
Okay.
What about you?
No.
No, we have not.
Okay. And we never. Okay. When they send you those checks, do they send a report? How did they get to that number? Let's say they send you a check for 300,000 or 200 something. Did they send you a report?
I would have to look at the support that is associated with the check deposit, but I can't see for sure at this point right now.
Okay.
Because we just pulled the reports from what was in the system.
Do you have back payment that they owe you? Like maybe 15, 14?
Not that far back.
But
The last
16?
payment received in 2017 was for 15 or 16. So, and I think it's an annual payment. So there's right. So there's a lag in terms of the timing of the payment.
That's when we cannot, as of right now, we call to find out if they're in compliance.
So what we can do, as you know, as a full report, is go back, work with the receiving attorney, and give you a full accounting of the last. You want to do the last 3 years, last 4 years?
That's 5.
Yeah,
Because
five,
from my
five,
time,
five is a good number.
yeah,
Yeah,
we do the last 5 years.
I was born on the
and-
5th.
Yeah.
and tell you.
I was
That's
born
when
on the 5th.
before we start moving forward, I would like to see the lease report to make sure they're a good neighbor, and before we can entertain a sale. That's what I
Okay.
would do. I don't know.
All right, Mr. Galvin is next, but if I can make a quick comment before Mr. Galvin, the Councilman Galvin. How many units do we have total?
It's 3.
So, between the two of them.
It's 373.
373 units. So there is no set date. I mean, the lease calls for payment when? What month
get
of
it-
the year?
We get it once a year at the beginning
Begin-
of
at the
the
begin-
following. So for the past calendar year, we would get it at the beginning. Of
Beginning of the following, of the upcoming year.
for the full year. Though we would get all the monthly all of the collections for the year.
Okay, so by January, March, you get paid for the preceding year.
Correct.
For the preceding year. So there is no, the lease doesn't call for any provision, no provision for late fees if they're late or anything like that.
I need to check. I need to check that.
I mean, I pay late fees on my mortgage after the 15.
Right. I need to check on the ground lease. I need to check.
And it's approximately $500,000 a year.
Yep.
So pretty much in 20
For the
years.
next 200 years.
Huh? For the next 200 years.
Yeah.
So pretty much in 20 years, we can make $10,000. I mean, $10 million.
So again, if you go through the report is pretty significant. The evaluation report. What we're doing is taking those annual.
I was just making a point.
Well, that's not a
good
not
point?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a good point. When you're looking at future payment streams,
Mhm.
you have to present value that number.
Mm.
So us getting $559,000 150 years from today
Mhm.
is the value of it today is probably like $2 in today's dollars.
50 years from now.
150 years from
Oh,
now.
150 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why. So their offer is, let me go ahead and settle this 200-year obligation, if you will, with making.
Yeah, can we
No, it's
negotiate
not,
the lease?
This initial lease was 200 years.
Okay. I mean 100 renewable. Is it?
Yeah.
99 renewable?
Yeah.
For
Another-
another.
another
Okay.
Yeah,
one,
another
yeah.
100.
Okay, Councilman
But the
Galvin.
assumption that we use is the 200 years.
Go ahead.
Because
We understand.
there's a building that we can't move sitting on the land.
Yeah.
So that's the.
All right.
The only, I'd be very interested to see what you come back with. So I'd certainly say go ahead. I'd also say concurrently we need to talk about where this, if the sale does commence, where the money goes. Because I could imagine.
The reserve.
Fixing the street.
Well, that's nice. That's nice.
No, but Councilman
But
go
District
ahead.
1's going to have a hand up in the air. I assume this sale, if it were to happen, will happen after May 1st. We don't know what will happen with the bond, and I have some things in mind. And so it's okay. And so
Fixing the streets.
District 1 would certainly want to have a seat at the table to see where that money would go, and I maybe a fraction of it does go to the reserves. I don't know, but we need to have that kind of conversation concurrently so that the sale doesn't commence and then the bloodletting up here begins.
But understand the first part of the discussion before we start engaging in the selling. We're talking about having a report update on the list to make sure they're in compliance first.
I will get that.
Then when we have that,
immediately.
because from what you said, it seems like they owe us back pay money. Because since you've been here, you never see $559,000.
Not at once. No, I have not.
Exactly. And they want you, and in the proposal, they want you to finance that $10 million. That's been not at once.
Well, let me correct that. One of the requests that they made was, I think I shared the evaluation report with them already.
Mhm.
They're a general agreement with what the report says, and that's because it's a numbers exercise, if you will. But they asked for two things. One, to consider a 5-year payout, but they said they had the ability to just pay it all as a lump sum, whatever the number is. So
that's been let's go first with the to
we'll
make sure
do-
they're in compliance and how much money they owe the city.
Okay, so we'll do the reconciliation. You said 5 years. Finance director, you have that.
How much
direction?
money they pay us so far, how much money they owe the city.
Right.